Hi guys, it's Mrs. Millicent. All right, we're going to do the Check Your Understand on page 16. An article in the Journal of American Medical Association reports that the results of a study designed to see if the herb St. John's wort is effective in treating moderately severe cases of depression. The study involved 338 patients who were being treated for major depression. The subjects were randomly assigned to receive one of three treatments: St. John's wort, Zoloft, which is a prescription, or a placebo, which is an active treatment, for an 8-week period. The two-way table summarizes the data from the experiment. Okay, so let's just take a look at our table. We've got our three treatments: St. John's wort, Zoloft, and the placebo, and then the three types of responses, whether their change in depression with a full response, a partial response, or no response at all. Okay. One thing I'm going to tell you: anytime you're given a two-way table, the first thing you should do is total all your rows and your columns. Okay. Of course, don't write in the book. I have duplicated the table on my paper. So we're going to total our rows and columns. Okay, I'm going to do it in a different color. So we'll do our tables, our columns and our rows. So column total for St. John's wort is 113, for Zoloft is 109, and the placebo is 116. Okay, and it's okay if they're not all exactly the same. Row total for full response is 91, partial response is 55, and no response is 192. Now down here is the table total. Should be the total of all the rows and the total of all the columns, okay? And we already know what this number is because we were told in the problem. We were told it was a total of 338. So it's kind of nice they told you that. You can double check yourself, okay? So make sure these all add up to be 338 and these all add up to be 338, okay? I don't want you to make a mistake because you made an addition error, okay? So anytime you're given a two-way table, find all your totals. Undoubtedly, you will need them, okay? Always helpful. All right, let's see what questions it's asking. What proportion of the subjects in the study were randomly assigned to take St. John's wort, okay? So of all this information in the table, all I care about is St. John's wort. So all I want is that column, okay? So I want the proportion of subjects. So all of these people took St. John's wort. So I want the 113, and the proportion is going to be 113 over the total. So 113 over the table total. Okay, so that's my proportion. I can turn it into a relative frequency, not a relative frequency, a percentage, okay? So that would be, what, 0.334, a decimal rather, which is about 33.4%. So about 33.4% of the people in the study were randomly assigned to St. John's wort. The question says, explain why this value makes sense. Well, it makes sense because it's roughly a third, right? I mean, you would think if you're going to randomly assign your people to the three treatments, roughly a third of each, a third of the people will get each treatment. So 33.4%, that's roughly a third, okay? Okay, number 2 says, find the distribution of change in depression for the subjects in the study using relative frequency. So again, we're going to do percentages. We want the distribution of the change in depressions for the subjects. This does not mention the treatments. This is just mentioning the change in depressions. So now, the change in depression. So now I want all my row totals, okay? So all I'm concerned about are these totals because this is how many people had a full response, this is how many people had a partial response, and this is how many people had no response. I don't care about what they took. All I want to know is the percentages of their change in depression, okay? So let's see, we'll do full, partial, and no response. So full is 91, partial is 55, and no response is 192. And of course, these will all be over the table total. Okay. Oh, can't see that. Great. All right, let's look at that again. Full is 91 over the table total. Total partial is 55 over the table total, and total no response is 192 over the table total. Okay, and of course, throw those in the calculator. And we will get our decimals. Let's see, 0.163 and 0.568. You can rewrite these as percentages. Guys, always give me at least 3 decimals. That way when you turn it into a percentage, I have a decimal, because I don't want you to rewrite that as 57%, because it's not 57%, it's 56.8. I don't want you to, if it's not a integer, don't give me an integer. Always give me a decimal. Okay? So these are the distribution of changes in depression for the subjects. So I can say 26.9% of the subjects had a full response for their change in depression. About 16.3% had a partial response, and 56.8% had no response to their change in depression. Okay, and again, this has no regard for what they took, what medicine they took. All right, number 3 says, what percent of subjects took Zoloft and showed a full response? So, it's talking about a change in depression, and it's talking about a treatment, okay? This one only talked about a treatment, this one only talked about a change in depression. So when we're looking at both variables, okay, and it's got the and, we want the intersection of those 2 variables in the table, okay? So Zoloft, here's Zoloft, and full response, here's full response. So Zoloft and full response, my intersection is 27. So 27 people took Zoloft and had a full response to their change in depression. So 27. Now, of course, that's 27 out of the total 338. 27 out of 338. Let's see what that is in the calculator. I'm going to say 7.99%. Okay, so almost 8% of the people took Zoloft and showed a full response. Okay, so for these first 2, all I did was mention one variable. This mentioned St. John's wort. For this, all it mentioned was the change in depression. So when I only mention one variable, I'm grabbing numbers from the margin. So when I just mentioned St. John's, I grabbed the total for St. John's from the margin, okay? When I was just looking at the change in depression, I grabbed the totals from the margins over here. So these 2 are marginal distributions, which we turned into relative frequencies, which are simply percentages, okay? Now this one down here, number 3, it asked for the percent of subjects who took Zoloft and showed a full response. So I actually mentioned both variables, okay? I mentioned a specific treatment and a specific change in depression. So when you mention, both variables and you have an and, okay? And is the key word there. That is called a joint distribution, okay? And of course, we turned it into a relative frequency, which is just a percentage, okay? So that word and was key to that joint distribution, okay? And we will see all of this later on when we do probability, okay? All right, I hope that was helpful, and I will see you next time.